This lesson covers pulling in the parts of the 4-inch cube into Partworks and creating our toolpaths. So we can go to the CAD/CAM folder on your desktop and find Partworks. If you haven't launched it before, you're going to have to find the license code. Mr. Goss or I can help you with that. We're going to go to creating a new file, and the first thing we want to do is set up our stock. The material we're using is going to be 24 inches wide, 6 inches high, 1 inch thick, and we're going to make sure that the origin is in this corner right here. So we're good to go. In Partworks, we're going to pull in the drawing files that you created. Now in SolidWorks, you created a solid model and a DWG file. The DWG file is a vector file, and we can import it into Partworks, going to import and import vectors. If we go into our woodshop folder, which we hopefully created when we created all these parts, you can see the list of the drawing files you have available to pull in. Now it turns out that the layout works best if we start with part C. So I'm going to bring in part C, and here we go. Now to move around in Partworks, the center scroll button on your mouse is going to allow you to zoom in and out. If you hold that button down, it allows you to pan. So I'm just going to make it so I can see this part. Now the part is not in the orientation that I need it to be in right now. So in a moment I'm going to show you how to rotate that. But first off, we want to go to this option right here, which is going to join the open vectors. It's important while this is highlighted, while it's magenta, we're going to go to join open vectors, and we want to set the tolerance to 0.05 and then hit join. We can close that out, and what that's going to do is it's going to make this one piece, this line right here. If you didn't do that, it'd be a bunch of different segments. This is something that comes in, not much I can do about that, but delete it after the fact. So I'm going to select that guy and hit delete. So we're left with just part C. Now part C is in the wrong orientation for our layout. So we're going to highlight it, make it magenta, and over here this is the rotate selected vectors option, and I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees and hit apply, and that's what we're looking for. So rotating the parts is as simple as selecting the rotate option and picking the angle that we're looking for. Moving the parts around, you can select the move tool here and move the part this way. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move things around. Now we're going to have some hold down clamps on the shop bot right about here. We also want to have some space right about here. So this is where we're going to pull our parts in. You're going to then bring the rest of the parts in and create a layout that allows you to create your toolpaths. I'm going to open up that file that I've already created, and you can see what the let's save your file first so that you have it. So you're going to save it as a last name, first initial, 4-inch cube, and save it into your woodshop folder. Now I've already put all of the parts in, and I've created a toolpath. I'm going to delete those toolpaths and show you how those came to be. I'm also going to delete these letters here, and I'll show you how to put them back in as well. So this is a layout that worked best for me. Hopefully you came up with one that also allowed you to get your parts in there. The critical piece of the puzzle here is that we have something greater than 1/4 of an inch between each of the spaces here, and something greater than 1/4 of an inch between the edge here. Now there's room for us to take this guy and cheat it down just a touch there, give us a little bit more room right there. So all of the parts have spacing between them. We now need to create toolpaths for all of those. The easiest thing to do is, once you've got your spacing correct, is select all the objects you want for your toolpath, and the operation you're going to choose is to create a profiled toolpath, this guy right here. Click on that, first thing we're going to be prompted to do is select our tool bit. It's important that we select the right bit because the speed of the spindle on the ShopBot and the speed that the material moves through the work is important. And we're going to edit this slightly, and it's important that you follow my steps. So we're going to come along here. We're going to go to the 1/4 inch ShopBot Fall 2011 end mill. Now this is the pass step wants to be set at 1/4 inch. It's important that we select 1/4 inch for the pass depth so that it speeds up our cutting. All right, and the feed rate is 25. We should be good to go. Hit OK. Again, double check. You've got the end mill 0.25 ShopBot Fall 2011. Now we want to be on the outside of those vectors. All right, and then we're going to add something called tabs, and we're going to do that by selecting this option and then hit Edit Tabs. Now all of my tabs, I'm going to delete all tabs so I can show you how we go about doing this. So starting on this side, I'm going to put a tab up here and here. We certainly need tabs across from each other on these parts. I'm going to put a tab up here. Again, I want to make sure that these parts are connected. I'm going to put some tabs there. Tab on the top. Put a couple tabs on the bottom here. Put a tab between these two here, and I'm going to put a tab between them here so this doesn't fall apart. Actually going to go ahead and put another tab between those there. Do the same thing up here. We don't want these. The tool bit's going to pass right between these two on both sides, and it's going to make this piece very unstable while it's cutting if we don't put these tabs in here. Tab at the top, put a pair here, I'm going to put another pair here, put some tabs here and here. We need a pair between these two. I'd put a set of tabs up here and a set of tabs down here, and I think we're good to go. So we've got all our tabs in our tool path. We hit close. I'm going to name this tool path my outline. All right, and I'm going to hit calculate, and it's going to create the tool path. I can now preview that tool path, and I can see that I'm not cutting deep enough. I need to cut through the material. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to double click on this again, which is going to activate that. And notice that I didn't have my cut depth correct. I want to be cutting the full inch. So I'm going to put 1 inch in there, which is the thickness of my stock, and I'm going to recalculate that. And then I'm going to reset my preview and preview it again. And now you can see that I'm cutting all the way through. And those tabs, if they weren't making sense before, maybe they do now. You can see that there's little pieces of material left behind. Now, I want to double check to make sure my tabs were big enough. So I'm going to notice my tabs are only 1/8 of an inch thick. So I want to change that. I want to make them 3/4 of an inch wide, and I want to make them 1/2 an inch thick, because 1/8 of an inch isn't that much in MDF. So I'm going to hit 0.5. I'm going to recalculate that, reset my preview it one more time, and you're going to see that those tabs are now a little bit thicker, which is going to give them more holding power, and these parts aren't going to fall apart when we cut them out on the ShopBot. Again, you could double check your tool path at any time. Make sure you have the right bit, end mill, right depth. We're on the outside, and we have the tabs associated at this side. Okay, close that out, and if we go back to this view by clicking on this tab and I click on this, you're going to see that I have an outline that represents the path of my tool, and it also shows me where my tabs are. If that line is on the inside of your shapes, then you're going to have something that's not going to work. It's going to be too small. We want to make sure we're on the outside. Okay, I'm going to hit save, and we're good to go. Next lesson, I'm going to show you how to add your initials to this part. But that's going to be it for this one.